see if this sounds familiar to you. You suddenly realize you need to generate some cash. So you come up with an idea for a promotion. You decide what you're going to sell. You go and hook up your shopping cart, your payment system. You realize, oh, I've got to have some copy. So you quickly throw together a sales letter, a video maybe. Maybe that's easier for you. You make a video and you put some bullet points underneath it and you slap it all together real quick and you send it out and you get crickets, or you get even sometimes more insulting than crickets. You get like 5 or 6 crickets and 5 or 6 sales, not anywhere near the money you were hoping for or needed. And now you're like, what just happened? I think that what happened was not that you necessarily had a bad offer or a bad price. I think the problem is you didn't have a system set up to make this all work. We often get in this situation as entrepreneurs. I see it all the time. People work for weeks or months on a product launch or creation of a new course, and they get right down to the point where the sale is going to have to take place in a few days. They're going to open up registration for their course or their coaching program or whatever the case may be, whatever you're selling. And you realize that last few days, we need one of them danged old pesky sales letters. The things that everybody pretends to hate, but they know they're necessary to sell their stuff. I personally don't hate sales letters. I love them. I loved them before I became a writer of them. And I think you're going to love them too once you see what you can accomplish if you have a sales copy system. And I'm going to propose to you that's what you're lacking. It's not that you're lacking knowledge or the ability to implement or skills. You're just lacking a system. And let's talk about what a system is. The Oxford Dictionary says a system is, quote, a set of principles or procedures according to which something is done, an organized framework or method. Let me ask you, do you have a system for your sales copy? Yes or no? For most, the answer is going to be no. If I throw this one caveat on it, if I say, do you have a written set of principles or procedures according to which something is done, a written, organized framework or method, most people, 99% of people are going to say, no, not really. Most entrepreneurs don't have that. Neither do most copywriters. That's a shame because a system relieves you of stress, brings you more sales at higher prices, more often, more profit, and it sets you up for the next sale. That is a system, and that's what it can do for you. And my question is, do you want to have one? Because today I'm going to tell you how to build your own system so you can be ready for the next time this happens. And it'll be a whole different experience. It'll be something you can do without the stress, without the freak out moments, and you can actually get some results you can measure and improve upon for the next time you do a promotion, for the next time you come up with an idea. You can be constantly improving a system. Whereas an ad hoc thrown together jumble of, oh yeah, I got to do this too, tasks is never going to improve because it's just not documented. It's not improvable because you don't have it in an improvable state. So let's get to it. How do we do this? Okay, so what should be in your sales copy system? Well, as you might have guessed, I have a checklist of things that should be in your sales copy system, and I'm going to walk through that with you right now so you can put together your own. If you just take these notes and you could translate these into your own checklist, that could be a starting point. If you have some swipe copy that you already use, you could pull that into the system as well. But you build this over time. You don't wait until you get it perfect. You just get it started, as my friend Stu McLaren says. So, first of all, in your system, you need to have written, right fit client profiles. And all this stuff needs to be written. You might say, well, I already know this stuff. I am my market. That's a fallacious argument, by the way. You are not your market because you're selling stuff to your market, which immediately makes you an alien from another planet. But let's set that aside for now. The reason you want to have things written down is what happens if you're not available to run this process in your business. If the only person who has the system is you and you have it in your head only, you don't have a system, you have your memory. Assuming you haven't been bonked on the head, or that you haven't taken ill, or that something worse hasn't happened, or you just decided to go on vacation for a month or so, you need to have this written down so that anybody in your company or anybody who you hired to walk into your company could take this checklist that you're going to give them, this written set of procedures, and could do the actions you've written down. So you got to start with a written out set of right fit client profiles. These are the major different kinds of people that are the right fit for you and your company, and for which your products and services are the right fit for them. That's where it starts. Right fit client profiles. Next, you need to have an assemblage of copy chunks that are proven to work. What I'm talking about here is there's probably pieces of copy that you use, that you write over and over again that are very similar. So stop writing them from scratch every time. Like, there are certain words and phrases I use when I'm writing a guarantee section of the sales copy. And I just realized one day, I should just take this chunk of copy and put this in a file so that every time I need that chunk, I can just take it, drop it into my template. Or better yet, just put it in my overall template. You're building templates for yourself, I assume. Every time you write a successful piece of copy, every time you write a successful email sequence, you file that away as a template to be used for next time, right? Of course you do. Now you do, at least. Nod your head, yes. You also need to have a complete pastor filter brief. What I'm talking about here is my pastor framework. There's more information available here on this website or on my website. If you're not at the website, maybe you're on YouTube or LinkedIn or somewhere watching this, or you're listening to the podcast. You can go to rayedwards.com and just search for pastor framework, and you'll find a whole explanation, a whole explanatory article on how to use the pastor framework, which is the framework we use to write all of our persuasive pieces of copy, which, by the way, everything you write is persuasive. So the pastor framework works anywhere: emails, blog posts, video scripts, notes to your spouse. Seriously. Pastor quickly just stands for person, problem, pain. The person you're writing to, the problem that you help them solve, the pain they're feeling. Amplification, in other words, you amplify the consequences of not solving the problem. And also their aspirations. What do they want things to be like when the problem is solved? Then you talk about the struggle of fixing the problem, the system you developed, and how it's usable by anybody else. Then the T in pastor, P-A-S-T, the T stands for transformation, because people aren't buying the thing that you're selling them. They're not buying a copywriting course from us, for instance. They're not buying copywriting services from us. They're buying the finished sales copy that sells their products. So what are they buying from you? What transformation are they buying from you? If you're a fitness coach, they're buying the six-pack abs. In fact, they look super sexy on the beach instead of kind of schlumpy, which is, I'm not judging. I'm just saying that's how people may feel when they look in the mirror. They're buying the transformation. And then the O stands for the offer, which is, yes, all the things you're giving them when they pay you the money, how much money they pay you, and how they get it. Click the button, put your credit card in, order now. That's the offer. Remember, when you're writing the offer, to focus on the transformation, not on the deliverables themselves, not on the number of videos or the number of pages in the book or whatever. You're focusing on the transformation that's happening for them. But you're still telling them what the deliverables are and how they get them. So that's part of the offer. And then the R is the request for a response, or in other words, you're asking them to buy. You're asking for the sale. You're saying, click the button, put in your credit card number. You'll get everything on the download page in a moment, or we'll have it shipped straight to your door, and we'll send you a shipping confirmation as soon as you finish ordering. So you're telling them what you want them to do and what's going to happen next. So that's a quick rundown of the pastor framework. It's a lot more complex than that, but that gives you an idea of what I'm talking about when I say you want to write out a complete pastor filter brief. So you filtered it through the person you're writing to, your right fit client profiles. You've run that through the pastor framework for your product, service, or your offer that you're making. You've got that all written out. Now you're ready to start writing the next item on your system checklist is your pre-promo content. This is where, if you're smart with your marketing, I'm getting into a little bit of marketing here, but it involves sales copy. This brings us to a concept I call distributed sales copy. It used to be we put all the copy in the sales page where we actually are making the sale, where the buy button is at the bottom of the page where people order your stuff. But people have become less patient with long stretches of copy, so we've learned to distribute it over a variety of different media. And they can find it on Facebook, on Instagram, on TikTok. So these concepts are familiar. This is what I call distributed sales copy, or pre-promo content. Your blog, your podcast, YouTube, social media, etc. And then this kind of copy, if we really are thoughtful about it, we want to think through, I already alluded to this, what are the major beliefs we need them to possess before they're going to decide to do business with us instead of somebody else? And you need to know what these are yourself. And let me say, for the record, you want to believe these things yourself. You want to believe, well, this is true. I have the answer to their problem. I have the solution to this pain they're experiencing. And you want that belief not only to be sincere, but you want to be in integrity about it. You're not just saying it to sell them. You know, well, in order for me to solve their problem, they need to believe the following 3 things, which I also believe, and then share with them why you believe those things. And when you do that, you're doing it, hopefully, prayerfully, I'm asking that you're doing it before you get to the sales letter. That's not the first exposure they have to these ideas, because nothing's harder than to take somebody who doesn't know you, doesn't like you, doesn't trust you, and sell them on 5 different beliefs they now have to buy into before they buy your stuff. Hopefully you're helping them to learn before they get to you. And we call this will freak some people out, but I mean it in the most beneficent way. We call this inception copy, which we plant into content elsewhere than on the sales letter. Too much to go into today, but put that on your checklist. You need to write some inception copy and decide where you're going to insert it into their lives. Now, this is also something I'd put on my checklist we can't go into in detail today, but I would put in interview scripts. Now, first of all, I don't believe in doing word-for-word scripted interviews because that always sounds weird and robotic. But these are bullet points you need to make sure you use every time you're interviewed on somebody else's podcast, on their YouTube channel, etc., where you're always hitting these key points that are probably, these are inception pieces of copy that you're spreading through different media to draw a bigger audience to yourself, to your company, to your product, to your service. And you want to have these talking points written down at your fingertips so you don't miss anything. And for goodness sakes, have one single call to action you use everywhere. You can customize it. For instance, you may have your single call to action. You might be a time management expert or productivity expert, and you might talk to 3 different audiences this week. One might be for an association of real estate brokers. One might be for independent business people learning to be more productive. And one might be for physicians. And for each of those, you have the same landing page, but with a slightly different language at the beginning, or maybe a photograph of somebody in their profession. Maybe something just saying, so you heard us on Michael Hyatt's podcast. Great. If you follow Michael, you know that we're all about full focus productivity, and this is what we've got for you today. And so then you go into your opt-in lead magnet, the thing you're giving them to opt into your email list, the thing of value, the checklist, the ebook, the report, the video, whatever it is. And it's slightly customized for that audience so that they feel the connection. They saw you or they heard you on Michael's podcast. They come to the landing page. It mentions where they saw you. That's a connection of familiarity. It reinforces that relationship, and it makes it easier for you to talk to them about surrendering their email address so that you can give them something of value. Because it's not totally free, is it? You have to give up your email address. People are conscious of this, not just marketers. I was at the grocery store last night, and the lady in front of me was, the cashier was somewhat good-naturedly, but still was badgering her about, give me your phone number so I can give you a discount. And she kept resisting. And finally, she gave in. She looked at me and kind of went, which was telling me she was a little frustrated with this guy's persistence. But he was kind of charming, kind of funny, so it was hard to say no. But then he said, now see, that was worth $8 in savings, wasn't it? And she said, well, depends on what you're going to do with my phone number. Consumers are not dumb, my friends. They know what's going on. So let's be honest and forthright about what we're doing. Anyway, off my soapbox, back to the checklist. You want to break out your Swiss Army knife of emotional triggers. And in case you don't know about emotional triggers, you might want to catch up on that. A good place to start would be with Robert Cialdini's book, Influence, and also check out Joe Sugarman's book on the same subject. It's really good information to think about how you touch people's emotions in relation to the problem you're helping solve for them. Important things to know about human psychology, which doesn't change, by the way, from age to age, from race, to culture to culture. Certain emotional triggers are the same for all of us because our nervous systems are all the same, because inside we're all the same stuff. Okay, so you've got your Swiss Army knife of emotional triggers. You've got all the bases covered with that. What's next on your checklist? You want to develop some sub-list recruitment copy. In other words, this is copy we use to recruit people to go to the lead magnet and sign up. We might put this copy out on social. We might put it on other people's sites if we're writing articles for people, etc. But this copy is designed to bring people back to our site, to our landing page, to get on our sub-list for the product we're going to be selling them. And we want to sub-list them because we want them on a list that indicates, I'm interested in that particular product that solves that particular problem. That way we can always send them the email they wanted to receive, not just a general blanket bunch of email that they don't want nor didn't ask for. That's called spam. We don't do that. All right, so then we've got sub-list indoctrination copy. Again, maybe sounds a little sinister, but I mean it from the kindest viewpoint possible. Again, we're talking to them about solving a problem that is a problem for them, and they want a solution. And in order to get them to the place where we can solve the problem, there are probably things they need to learn, understand, and yes, believe in order for us to help them. So we're going to help them to those beliefs by walking them through an indoctrination process. Think of it like this. If you're selling somebody on a ketogenic lifestyle system for being healthy, you've got to first sell them on why keto. And you got to overcome the objections they may have formed or the baggage they may have because of what they heard about keto elsewhere. And you're indoctrinating them. In other words, you're teaching them the doctrine of your system so they understand and they're ready to make the purchase decision when that time comes in your sales copy. So you've got to put together your indoctrination copy. Then you want to set up and have a checklist for your email sequence framework, because you do have a sequence of emails you're going to send before you roll out the copy. If this is a first time thing, if you're doing a product launch, or if you're not doing a product launch, think of it this way. If you have a new possible customer who comes to you and gets on your email list because they want to learn about what you know about the thing they're dealing with, the problem they want to solve, when you roll out your product to that person, that's a product launch to that person. So you want to use the same principles you use as after you've read Jeff Walker's Product Launch Formula book, or even better, after you've been through Jeff Walker's Product Launch Formula coaching program. You want to use those principles every time you open the door to somebody buying from you. You're launching to that person. Think of everywhere that people might find you and what sequence they're going to have to go through, what journey they're going to have to go on to get to the point where you're showing them the offer on the sales page, and write copy for each step of that journey to nurture them through that process. Then we've got pre-launch alert copy, letting people know we're going to open up the doors for the coaching program Monday or Tuesday or whenever you're going to do it. We're going to open up the doors to buying the new product or service. Or if you're just sending them to the sales page, give them some kind of pre-frame about what they're about to see. If you click on this link, I'm going to take you to the page that'll show you our solution to this problem. Prepare yourself. This is going to be amazing. You're going to be excited. Here we go. Click the link. Something like that, only better than I just did. Then you've got your sales page copy. Now here's a shocker. This comes really far down on my list on the checklist of your sales copy system, but this is going to be the second thing you write when you're preparing your copy for the first time. The first thing you're going to write is the offer. The offer itself. And that's a whole subject, but in our copywriting training course, we have 9 different kinds of offers you might write to people, depending on how you want to sell the thing you're selling, depending on your pricing and so forth. But you start with the offer because that's the only way you know how to write the rest of the copy. It's amazing to watch people write copy and they don't start with the offer. And often I just assume they know what their offer is, and we'll start talking about their copy. We'll discuss possible leads and angles, and eventually we'll get around to saying, so let's go back over the offer. And they'll say, what do you mean the offer? What's in the offer? I'm like, we should have started there. So start with your offer. What do they get? What does it do for them? How does it help them? What's the result they have in the end? And how much does it cost? And once you have that nailed down, you can then begin writing the sales copy. And then you write the entire sales copy, the entire sales letter or sales page before you write any of the other stuff I've given you on this checklist. Why? Because all this other stuff comes from the sales copy. The sales copy, in fact, if you don't have a product yet, the best thing you can do is write the sales copy for it first. People are always freaked out when I tell them that the first time. But if you write the sales copy and you already know who your customer is, your right fit customer, and you're solving a problem that they really have, that they're really aware of, that they really want solved, you write the copy for that person. It tells you what must be in the product to get them to buy it. Of course, there's more depth to this. There's a whole series of questions you need to ask yourself, and you need to ask your potential customers so you can answer them correctly to build the sales copy. But once you know that information about your right fit clients or customers and the problem they face that you help them solve, then you can develop the sales copy. And from the sales copy, you can develop the perfect product, because that's what you're writing the copy to. You're writing it to this right fit customer, and you're creating from scratch the perfect answer to their problem, right? So when you do that, you're going to have great copy, and you're going to know what should be in your product because, you wrote it for them. So that's definitely what should be in your product to solve their problem. You're answering their needs as they feel them. And you've got to answer felt needs, not needs you think they should have, but needs they actually do feel. That involves getting into their psychology and letting your psychology go for a while. serving them instead of serving you. So once you've written the sales page copy, then you've got to follow up with copy they get after they buy, or if they don't buy, you want to follow up with copy that returns them to the sales page time and time again. I would recommend over the course of a few days, you're going to send them 10 to 14 emails, bringing them back to the sales copy to get them to buy, to ask them, give them reasons. You need to give them a deadline to get the price you're offering, to get the set of bonuses you're giving away, to enroll in the class that has limited enrollment. But you need to give them some reason they need to order by 3 or 4 days from now at this appointed time. For us, we have a deadline for everything we sell, and it's usually 4 days later at either 6 p.m. Pacific time or midnight Pacific time. There's distinct reasons we choose one of those two times. We can talk about that in another session. But the point is, you give them a deadline with a time, not only just a date, but a time on the clock. So you can send emails and put countdown timers in your email and countdown timers on your webpage that show them they only have a limited time to make the decision. And you might say, well, that's cheesy and it's kind of pressury. And look, people respond to deadlines. We've seen it time and time and time again. It's cliched. Other marketers say it because it's true. If you employ these tactics, they will work every time because people respond to deadlines. Why? I think because we have so many decisions to make, we just put off making decisions until the last possible moment. That's my theory. That's Ray's theories of why deadlines work. Could be wrong, but I think it's right. So have a deadline, have emails to send them, reminding them the deadline's coming right up till cart close. Cart closes on that offer. And then after the cart closes, you want to have follow-ups saying, we really did close the cart. Sorry you missed it. Why? Because that reinforces for the people who did not buy, oh, I wish I had bought. Next time, I guess I better pay attention to the deadline. And it makes your deadline more effective next time because you kept your word. Then what about the people who did buy? You want to follow up with them as well. You want to make sure they got their login link or that they got their shipping information if you shipped them something in the mail. You want to make sure they got the package, that they opened it, that they logged into the site, that they began using the product, because getting them to use the product is how you prevent refund requests. Because how many of us have bought a course or a training or a coaching program and realized we never logged in, and the 30-day or 14-day time limit is coming up to ask for a refund, so we write on the last day and ask, can I have a refund, please? Because I never logged in, because I never used it. We often don't say that because we're embarrassed to say so, but that's what happens a lot of the time, isn't it? Nod your head if you've ever been there. So you want to follow up with them right after the sale, make sure they use the thing you sold them so they can solve the problem they have, because they really wanted to solve that problem and you really have the solution. So you should remind them of that. And you follow up with that, what I call refund prevention copy. Then you have retention copy, which is, for me, it's different. Most people mean the same thing by those two things, refund prevention and retention. I mean, retain their attention, retain their loyalty, retain their relationship with you so that you can nurture that over time with follow-up nurturing copy so they're ready for the next thing you offer them. And you might say, well, that sounds pretty cynical, Ray, like you're just lining them up for the next sale. Well, look, think of it this way. Every time you solve a problem, what do you suddenly discover? The next problem. So as a business person, you're looking to solve their next problem, right? Then that's what you're going to sell them next. And that's not just selfish. It is rational self-interest on your part. It's also service, because you're serving your customer by helping them solve the next problem or sending them to the person who can. So those are things that could and should be in your sales copy system if you have one. And if you do have one, then you're going to be a much happier person and a much wealthier person. Because first of all, the best copy is copy you've already written. And so if you're writing copy, my feeling is, I think Dan Kennedy originally said this, good sales copy is not written, it is assembled. You go back to successful copy you've used in the past. I'm not saying you steal it from other people, you steal it from yourself. You find your best guarantee paragraphs, your best lead opening paragraphs, your best reinforcement of the benefits paragraphs, all the things you're going to use over and over again, which you can tweak slightly for each iteration of it. You just have all of your best pieces that you can assemble into your template so that there's less writing to do when you get to the actual writing of the final sales letter for this particular product. Most of your copy is assembled. I always say I don't like to start a writing project like this until I'm 80% finished already. Meaning I've got it somewhere and I pull together the specifics and write those pieces perhaps from scratch as I fill in the blanks in the template. That's what I'd recommend that you do. And then you need one more document I would recommend in your system. This is your system checklist, a checklist of all the steps in your system so that you can then roll it out every time with precision and you don't forget any of the pieces. Here are some other things that need to be on your checklist. Let's say you finished writing the sales copy. On your checklist then would be review copy. So you're looking for ways you can strengthen it, make it better, and you're having other people read it and give you feedback on things that maybe you need to strengthen or eliminate from the copy. Then you have it proofread, then get it on the page, get the design right. So design would be a line in my checklist. Then set up A/B split tests on the headlines and leads of the copy. We can talk more about what I mean by that at some other time, but if you know, the headline and the lead, probably the first page, the big headline and the first page of copy. Then test all the breakage points once you have it up on the web. Test all the links, all the sublinks, all the links to like your disclaimers, your warranties, your terms and conditions. For goodness sakes, check the links in your order section where they actually buy. There are times that many marketers, never me, of course, but other marketers that I know have rolled out a promotion and wondered, why aren't we making any sales? And they realize, dumbfounded, that nobody hooked up the shopping cart to the link on the sales page. I know it's crazy. It's, again, as I said, never happened to me, but it happens to some people. So make sure you test everything before you roll out the product. So with a master sales copy system like this in place, you are set to go. And if you do the after action review we recommend after a promotion is over, what's an after action review? It's a process where you get your team together and you analyze what worked, what tested well, what did not work well, what do we hear lots of questions about, what do we get complaints about. You can review everything that happened. You decide on what you're going to keep, what you're going to get rid of, and what you need to improve for next time. And that makes you a machine of constant, never-ending improvement, and you have a constantly improving sales copy system. So it never becomes that pesky sales letter you have to quickly throw together at the end. It becomes a process you go through that thoroughly helps you make the best sales numbers, the best profitability happen time after time after time. Do you do this already? Are you going to start doing it? I'd love to hear from you. Give us feedback. If you got questions or comments, you can give us your feedback on the socials. This is the best place to do it. At Ray Edwards on Twitter, on Instagram and Facebook, and The Ray Edwards on TikTok. Because, well, I had to put the "the" in front of it on TikTok because there's other people who have my same name. Who knew? Until next time, I pray that God gives you more than you can ask or even possibly imagine in the way of good things. I pray you have long life and much prosperity. Peace to you and peace to your house.